For a while now, my hobby space has been part of another space. When I first got back into the hobby, I was working out of a toolbox, which was really cool to be able to just set up anywhere I wanted to, even outside, and do some painting for the day. Then I set up something a little bit more permanent in one of the hallways of the house, and then later my bedroom. All of these setups worked really well as a hobby space, but never so much as a filming space. I always liked the idea of having a desk in front of me, especially when I'm trying to show something or do an unboxing type video. Behind me I'd like to have a few regular special things that are special to the channel. Part of revamping my creative space is also just so that I have a little bit more inspiration to do more. I'm also not happy with the number of videos that I put out this year, which has only been sort of a handful. I have a list of hundreds of ideas for this channel, and I really want to get through more of them. And I'm hoping that having a dedicated hobby and recording space will make that process a lot easier. In this video, I wanted to explain some of my decisions with this space, and also do a little bit of a room tour so you can see what I'm working with here, and talk about some of my future plans with this channel, and where I'd like to see it go. About 8 years ago now, wow, it's a long time, I started creating video tutorials to post on Udemy. Now this was before Twitch and streaming and any of that became a real thing, and even YouTube was still a little bit primitive at that point, so information and learning material was a lot harder to find. And my channel did pretty well on there at the time. This room I'm in now was used as a recording space then. However, I wasn't really using the space very effectively because all of this was quite new, and all of the equipment needed was quite big. So there's been a number of ways I've been able to improve this setup. So my plan for this weekend is to make it a more functional space for storage, hobbying, and filmmaking. Quite a long list of goals, but I believe it can be achieved. To start, I wanted to move everything out of the room and start fresh. This made it really simple to properly clean the carpet and take any measurements. If you like to plan room layouts visually, but don't want to invest in expensive CAD software, I highly recommend using Affinity Designer. I've talked about this software before on my testing paint schemes video, and I found it to be perfect for room layouts as well. I created basic shapes for each of the desks and shelving units, making sure to convert real-world sizes to pixels for easy size comparison. I also labeled each item and dragged the labels onto the shape to make them one draggable item. From here you can lock all of the room layers and drag and rotate the items as needed to perfectly fit within the room. For shelving units, my local hardware store has these for $45 Australian dollar each, which was super cheap. They may not be great to look at, but functionally, they're a great size and easy to build once I got a rubber mallet. I built 4 in total, 3 along one wall, and another one next to where the desk was going. I originally planned to have the 3D printer in this room as well, as this is where it was originally, but I decided the ventilation wasn't really sufficient, and have moved them to the area where the spray booths are, which is close to a window. I really wanted to have everything in the same room, but it just wasn't the best move for health. Also, since the spray booth camera is on USB 2.0, that allowed me to have a longer cable, so even though the spray booth is located outside of the filming room, I can still have the camera set up permanently in there. So, once it all came together into this set that you can see here now, this is what the whole room looked like. For storage, here are those shelving units. Each one should be able to handle up to 150 kilograms on each shelf, so they're quite strong. On the first one I have my crates of completed miniatures, and also the dreaded pile of shame. The rest of the storage is a mix of things, such as my sketchbooks, and this here is kind of cool. In my earlier years as a software developer, Apple sent me the new model Apple TV before they were available to retail, hence the not yet seen on TV. I still make apps. Small plug, Hobby Life is available on the App Store free of charge. It allows you to track your miniature painting with ease. Next we have the cable bins. I go through this each year to throw out any cables I'm never going to use again. This is always quite a tough decision though, which is why I have so many cables still. Now we have the shelving for hobby supplies. So this is where I keep all my paint products. This paint rack I put together a while ago just so happened to fit perfectly in this space, which is fantastic. This isn't all of my paints, I also have this Vallejo Game Air set down here, which is designed for airbrushing but works well brushed on as well. In this cupboard I store my 3D printing chemicals, so resin and isopropyl alcohol. I keep them here because I don't want my cats knocking them down or licking the bottles, as it could be quite toxic to them. These drawers are mostly drawing supplies. Sketching and colouring is a great way to practice colour theory and lighting. Even if you're not very good at drawing, you can learn a lot from practicing shading and lighting on 2D paper characters. For the recording setup, I'm using 4 cameras. 3 of them are Logitech 920 series webcams. These are great cameras, they can put out really clean 1080p footage over USB 2. In front of me here is a Canon M50 Mark II. I wanted to have a decent quality camera for these sort of front-facing shots, but also for any product photography or finished models, just so that I'm getting the cleanest shot possible with them. And this camera definitely does a better job than the little webcams. The little webcams do a pretty good job, but as far as contrast and color correction, this camera is a lot better. For the other cameras, there is one out in the spray booth, and I can switch to it like this. I didn't want the camera to be in the way at all, so it is on a small rig clamp. There's also an overhead camera that's mounted on the boom arm. And if I switch to that, you get a good view of the desk. So I plan to use this camera when I'm doing building down here, or wanting to show a top-down view of what I'm painting. And that is also using a small rig clamp, which is attached to my boom arm. Now this is the final camera, so it has a bit of a longer cable on it, so I can move it around where I need it on the table. It also has its own light source, so that way I can light up anything that is directly in front of this camera. It's also unobtrusive enough that if I want to work on something in front of my hands, I can still see over the top of it to do any painting that I need to do, and it's just a nice easy setup. For audio, in the past I've used a Blue Yeti microphone, that if you've watched any of my previous videos, you've probably seen it in front of me before. It has to be fairly close in order to pick up my voice clearly. For this setup, I'm trying a Rode shotgun microphone, which is being mounted out of shot above me. So hopefully you can hear me nice and clearly. It should have reasonably good quality, and I'm hoping it sounds better than the Blue Yeti I was using before. For this lighting, I'm using an Elgato key light that was on special at my local EB game store. As mentioned earlier, I used to do a lot of video recording in here, and I think I had 4 lights on 4 different tripods, 2 of them with the big umbrellas to spread the light throughout the room, and 2 using soft boxes that were meant to evenly distribute light across me. Now that was a really nice setup, but the problem was that it took up half the room. If I can get good enough quality out of a single or potentially more LED lights just clamped to the edge of my desk, then that will save me a lot of space. It also has the added benefit of working with my Stream Deck, so if I need to make any changes such as the light temperature, then it's just a button press to make any of those sort of changes on the fly. Okay, so that's the new hobby/studio space. So how am I planning to use it? Well, I haven't been happy with the number of hobby goals I've been completing or the number of videos that I've been putting out this calendar year. So in the coming weeks, as I get more used to this setup, I hope to start putting out a lot more content. It should be a lot easier for me now to put out videos with much higher production quality than I did before. In addition to this, having the dedicated space here also means that I could do content streaming in here. Let me know if you think that would be fun, and we can give it a go sometime. With that, I hope you enjoyed this video. I've got plenty of content planned for the next few months, so if you haven't already, please like and subscribe so that you know when new content becomes available. Also, don't forget to check out Hobby Life on the iOS App Store. I've been doing some big updates lately, and with a new iOS version coming soon, I've got plenty more planned. Alright, well, thanks for watching.